Together tonight, April 3rd, 2018 at 7 p.m. Kelly, please call roll.
Trustee Frost.
Here.
Trustee Humper.
Here.
Trustee Lawrence.
Here.
Trustee O'Sullivan.
Here.
Trustee Rayberg.
Here.
President Skillman.
Here. Thank you. Okay, I'd like everybody to please stand. We're going to take a moment of silence. It's the 50-year anniversary of Martin Luther King's death. Okay, thank you. Pastor Ball. Pledge allegiance, I'm sorry, first. Thank you. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Ball.
Good evening, everyone. Let us pray. Gracious Father, we thank you tonight for your goodness and your grace, and we appreciate you as being the author and finisher of our faith. And tonight, we invoke your presence in this meeting. We pray that your will is our will, your agenda, God, becomes our agenda. And Lord, we just speak blessings over our village, and we ask that you would continue to have us in safety and honor of you. And we even bless this night, Lord God, of the new appointment, Lord, and of our trustee. And we just pray, God, for the spirit of wisdom and knowledge and understanding and the fear of you. And Lord, just continue to bless our government, God, as we continue to pursue the greatness of you. And all these things we ask in your name. Amen.
Thank you. Okay, so sorry, I'm a little nervous tonight, a little excited. We have a lot going on tonight. Okay, so our first proclamation, Trustee O'Sullivan will read tonight.
So President Skillman has asked me to read the proclamation for National Service Recognition Day, dated April 4th, 2018. Whereas service to others is a hallmark of the American character and central to how we meet our challenges, and whereas the nation's mayors are increasingly turning to national service and volunteerism as a cost-effective strategy to meet their needs, and whereas AmeriCorps and Senior Corps address the most pressing challenges facing our cities and nation, from educating students for jobs of the 21st century and supporting veterans and military families, to preserving the environment and helping communities recover from natural disasters, and whereas national service expands economic opportunity by creating more sustainable, resilient communities and providing education, career skills, and leadership abilities for those who serve, and whereas national service participants serve in more than 70,000 locations across the country, bolstering the civic, neighborhood, and faith-based organizations that are so vital to our economic and social well-being, and whereas national service participants increase the impact of the organizations they serve with, both through their direct service and by recruiting and managing millions of additional volunteers, and whereas national service represents a unique public-private partnership that invests in community solutions and leverages non-federal resources to strengthen community impact and increases the return on taxpayer dollars, and whereas AmeriCorps members and Senior Corps volunteers demonstrate commitment, dedication, and patriotism by making an intensive commitment to service, a commitment that remains with them in their future endeavors, and whereas the Corporation for National and Community Service shares a priority with mayors nationwide to engage citizens, improve lives, and strengthen communities, and is joining with the National League of Cities, City of Service, and mayors across the country to recognize the impact of service on the Mayor's Day of Recognition for National Service on April 4th, 2018. Therefore, be it resolved that John Skillman, Village President of Carpentersville, Illinois, do hereby proclaim April 4th, 2018 as National Service Recognition Day and encourage residents to recognize the positive impact of national service in our city and thank those who serve, and to find ways to give back to their communities. Dated and signed at the Village of Carpentersville, Kane County, Illinois, this 3rd day of April, 2018.
Thank you, Trustee O'Sullivan. So today's a new day in Carpentersville, I feel. I mean, we're on the verge of appointing a new trustee from from our Hispanic community, and I'm very excited about it, and this is what we've been working towards. So, Kelly.
Yes.
You need to vote on
So we do, yes.
I need a motion, please. To approve the
A
appointment.
motion to pass this resolution?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion from Trustee Humford, second from Trustee Rayberg. Roll call, please.
And I'm sorry, just for the record, this is for the confirmation of the appointment of Maria Vela to the vacated trustee.
As amended if need be.
Yes, thank you. Roll call, please.
Trustee Humper?
Yes.
Trustee Lawrence?
Yes.
Trustee O'Sullivan?
Yes.
Trustee Rayberg?
Yes.
Trustee Frost?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Motion carries, thank you. Okay, Kelly. Maria, please come up. Just a little background on Maria. She's a 17-year resident of Carpentersville. She was born in Mexico, raised in Chicago, Illinois. She moved out here, obviously, 17 years ago, purchased a home and raised her children who attended District 300 schools. She's very proud of her children at the high school here they went to, and she's employed by District 300 also, and Maria is a parent community support liaison for District 300, works out of Lakewood School in DeLacy, I believe. Correct, thank you. So she's very involved with our community, our Latino community, and she has great contacts with the parents, and we'll look forward to continuing that. So, Kelly, please.
I, Maria Vela,
I, Maria Vela,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the office
the duties of the office
of Village Trustee
of Village Trustee
for the Village of Carpentersville,
for the Village of Carpentersville,
Kane County, Illinois,
King County, Illinois,
according to the best of my abilities.
according to the best of my abilities.
Congratulations. Welcome.
So Maria, if you want to bring up your family, introduce them if you like. Family, friends. I know we have a lot of people here, so.
Yes. First of all, I want to say thank you to Mayor Skillman and the board for giving me the opportunity to serve the community. And I do want to thank my family and friends that are here tonight joining me for all of their support. So tonight joining me is my mother, Jacinta Vela, my sister Blanca Lopez, my granddaughter Aria, my daughter Yesenia Chagoya, Daisy, also my son-in-law Brian Torres. This is my family. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to do a couple pictures real quick, Chief.
President Scott, I'm going to let him get a family picture in front of you all.
Yeah, we could do that after we. Yeah. Yeah, right.
Wait till this picture's down there.
Maria?
That's great.
Okay. Gonna do public comment. Oh, yes, thank you. We have public comment tonight?
Yes, we have two tonight. The first is Robert Crable. You want to come up?
Glad my pastor's here tonight. After what you just did, this is a hard topic for me to talk about. But I'm here to talk about an article that was in the paper. I don't know if many of you seen it. And if you need to see it, I'll let you have it.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, and Bob, we can talk about this
Well,
later, if
well,
you'd
my,
like,
my
so I
problem
can
is,
go over it with you.
I mean, I'm not trying to bring up, I know you want to change the image, I'm not trying to bring up what happened in the past and everything, but my concern is to say this village is being unfair to the Latino community is not right. And to say that they want things written in both languages so they understand. I feel you're here in America, you understand. Because not long ago, I went to St. Monica's Church where they have the information center to find out what they discuss that gets that big of a crowd. I was told I couldn't get in. And the two gentlemen that told me that, I was going to fight it, but then the police would be involved and, you know, all that. But my concern is to say, if this board gives in to districting or different ways of voting, I like this board, I voted for most of you on this board, and I'd have to say shame on you because you're giving in. And I am a born-bred American, I am a veteran, and I have been a precinct committeeman for over 25 years. I think everybody should be equal, but the district and say you're going to make two districts Latino with the majority. And the comment in the paper about what President Skillman said, if you guys are following the law of the state and the federal government, I don't see what could be done because they're saying they could bring a lawsuit against Carpentersville. Now, we went through this years ago, and I'm here to say that if anybody gives in to this issue, I'm sorry, but the American team that was back then, you're seeing the American team. Because I think that this village is being more than fair. When they say dual languages, I could go to La Illusion Shopping Center there. I have no clue what one of their signs say. But yet, we have to do for them. Who pays the burden of the village putting everything in dual language? Who pays for everything? The taxpayer. Okay? Now, my intent is get along with everybody because I'm a God-loving Christian and my pastor attested that I'm not brought up prejudiced, love everybody equally, but it's got to be fair across. But don't say you're getting mistreated or not getting represented properly. And the paper said they're afraid to come out. No, they weren't afraid back then. What's the difference? They got the majority now in this village, okay, as far as population, okay? They can run for office just as well as you guys did. You guys ran for office. You did what you had to do to get on the board. You got your petitions. You got whatever. You followed the law of the land to get the seat you're in.
Sir,
and you do the job you do according to the law.
you're near the time limit for public comment, so if you could please conclude your thoughts.
What?
You're near the time limit of public comment, so it's set at a 5-minute time limit, so we're just asking that you wrap up your thoughts at this time.
So I can't say what I got to say.
You have 1 minute left.
Well, you know, the bottom line is if anybody gives in to this because they threaten you, I'm sorry, but this board's not doing what I or other people elected this board to do. You people are more than fair as far as I'm concerned. You do a great job, and it's wrong for anybody to come up and say you're violating their rights just because they're a certain nationality or race. So I could have said a lot of things a little different, but I'm not a big political speaker or anything, so forgive me, but you get my point.
Yep.
So I want to thank you guys, and I want to thank you guys for the job you guys do, and I want to say God bless Carpentersville and God bless the USA. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. Thank you. Okay. First of all, we have many Hispanic community leaders here today. I know we have another speaker. Thank you. But, and I want to recognize some of them here today. Jose Campos. Jose has been trying to do some stuff in the park for us, trying to help us out a lot. You know, he's got an event coming up. We also have Mr. Rivera. We have our clergy committee here. We have many of the residents. So we're proud of all of our residents. And we're going to keep pushing on here. So who's our next speaker, please?
We also have Maggie Rivera.
And you have 5 minutes, just so you know. So.
5 minutes? Well, that's it. Well, good evening, everyone, and thank you for allowing me this 5 minutes to just say a few words. I cannot tell you how proud I am of Maria tonight. I am so proud to have you sitting in the seat where you're at now, but I also want to say that I am very proud of our Mayor Skillman and every single other trustee for believing in our community and believing that we belong at the table as well. From the very beginning, the mayor has always included every single constituency in his campaign. He reached out to every single one because he wanted to have everyone involved within matters of the city. I'm proud to see that the city of Carpentersville has come a long way and is truly looking at an all-inclusive approach in bringing everyone together, in providing everyone the opportunity to have a say-so, to hear their voice. As a business owner here in the city of Carpentersville, I am very, very pleased to spend my money here, because this city is truly embracing what we are in this nation. We are a melting pot of different cultures. We are a community that should embrace our differences, because our differences is what makes us rich. It's what brings us that wealth that no other country can compare to. We are America. We are the United States. And together, we can move forward to provide this little piece of the world that we all share with nothing but peace, cohesiveness, and a brighter future for every single community member here in Carpentersville. I commend you, Mayor Skillman. I commend you, each and every of you trustees here today, because this should set an example to the rest of the communities in our surrounding areas so that they can follow suit, so that we can continue to bring everyone together and have peace above all. Thank you.
That was beautiful.
Thank you, Mrs.
Thank
Rivera.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I know I'm not supposed to comment, but Bob and I go way back. So, Bob, first of all, I want you to know, I mean, there was an article in the paper. We're aware of that. You know, we're going to be setting up meetings with these people in Chicago, this firm, but we're not giving in. So, you know, so I want you to know that. So, and it could be on record. Obviously, it is now. So we're on TV right now. So, all right. So, I just want you to be aware of that. So, all right. But we are all coming together, and we live together. So, this is our community, right? And you live here for your whole life, just like I have. So, okay. Next, moving on. Thank you, everybody. consent agenda. All items listed on the consent agenda will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of those items unless the trustee so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the general order and business and considered in its normal sequence on the agenda.
I'll motion to pass the consent agenda.
I'll second.
We have a motion by trustee Humphreys, a second by trustee Rayberg. Kelly, please call roll.
Trustee Lawrence,
Yes.
Trustee O'Sullivan,
Yes.
Trustee Rayberg, Trustee Vela,
Yes.
Trustee Frost,
Yes.
and Trustee Humphreys.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Next item is reports of the manager and staff.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. The first item on the agenda this evening, we have some guests. Bridget Lane, Carl Wolt, and Cindy Bodie. They're our consultants who are working with the village on the regional positioning and branding initiative that the board approved some time ago. So they're here to provide a status update. So Bridget, it's all yours.
Thanks, Mark. And what we're going to do today, like Mark said, is give you an update on where we are and actually give you a look at where we think the right regional positioning strategy is. So this is who we are. I'm with Business Districts, Inc., and we've got a long history with Carpentersville, some familiar faces here, and it's a community we really enjoy working with. Cindy?
I'm Cindy Bodie. I'm part of the team, and I focus primarily on the marketing implementation, but I'm involved in every step.
I'm Carl Wolt. I'm involved principally in the positioning and also the creative element.
Okay, and we're really happy that you're doing this now, because what we're showing you is that communities, the pace of new municipal marketing programs has been accelerating, and you've picked a great time to get involved in this process. This is the project, and as you can see, we're in phase 1. We've had project initiation, interviews, existing perception survey, a peer community marketing review. We've reviewed the communications you do now. We've done a strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats analysis. We've met with the staff. We've met with the task force, some of the members of which are here. And tonight's the Village Board Workshop, which will follow up with a written summary that you'll all be able to look at. And then we go into, like we talked about, the actual marketing plan and a marketing image we're going to recommend for you. And then we're going to help you guide implementation. So, what have we done? 25 stakeholder interviews, an existing perception survey where we got 730 responses, peer community marketing review, the communications audit, as I've talked about. So this is kind of what we've done so far. The goal is to create an authentic regional position for Carpentersville and supporting marketing strategy that clearly differentiates the village from peer communities and attracts the interests of investors and new residents. Some of the key challenges and opportunities. The marketplace doesn't understand Carpentersville, probably not news to a lot of you. And especially its true brand experience, which this image shows you a 30-minute drive time. And we talk about a brand experience. And the reason we choose the 30 minutes is that many of you may work within this area. It's kind of typical of a commute. And also, people coming from the 30 minutes today, I don't know how many of you ever hit a Google map directions. People will generally drive about 30 minutes to find what they're looking for. So we find this to be very important in understanding the experience of living in a community rather than just your municipal boundaries. And that's a really important part of the way we recommend that you market yourself. We have discovered that there are some negative perceptions lingering, especially within your internal audiences, that we're going to need to tackle as part of this process. There's no existing community branding strategy nor budgeted resources to implement a strategy. So throughout this program, we're going to talk about that, and we love when we have trustees here to talk about the need to invest in this program once it's finished. These are some of the key opportunities. You have many unrecognized benefits and opportunities. And there's a very interesting one. I work with a national organization called the Urban Land Institute. And we talk many times about what are called bridge communities. They're quite unusual, actually, where you have a community that's not tremendously high income, butted up against a very high income community. You are one of those communities, and that's why businesses can be successful serving your customers, but also serving these high income customers. So it's a really important part of this sub-region, and you can kind of see, we've sort of for fun talked about the Central Fox Valley, the I-90 business corridor, horse country, the North Fox Valley, the blue sky, Illinois. So you have a very interesting position within this 30-minute drive time. You also have a range of business opportunities that's very attractive. Where we're headed. We need to build consensus around key messages for both your internal and external audiences. We want to develop a branding and marketing strategy that gives you the most bang for the buck. And we want to professionally manage the marketing and community relations for the implementation recommendations. Okay, so key takeaway for now. There are negative perceptions existing because the marketplace doesn't understand the true Carpenter's brand experience. Any of you guys remember this ad? We think that really characterizes Carpentersville right now. The reality is that Carpentersville is a smart location choice for residents in a range of industrial, commercial, and retail businesses, and business entrepreneurs in particular. We've met a lot of business owners here. So, what do we want to do? Market positioning involves finding one sure good thing, and communities always have a range of choices, and this gives you some idea. We're going to help you narrow that a little bit tonight. So, as we said, what that means is we pick one sure good thing. A marketing program continues to grow, so we will expand, leverage that, and then expand it. So just because as we finish this program, we say, here's your one good thing now, what you're going to do is as you're successful at that, you're going to build on it and continue to build on it over time. And this is just kind of fun. What it also does is when you have this market positioning and a goal, it allows you to organize strategically around that. And I sort of jokingly, on your left, what you have here is the general Illinois approach to economic development. And so what we're going to do is help you understand the relationship of a market position to a primary goal and lots of objectives. So it's a strategic approach. So what we're going to do now is look at the work we've done to understand the available resources here, the marketplace opportunities, and the community aspirations. So the resources. What's really important is the strengths of Carpentersville. And as again, as you might recall, I mentioned it's very important that we pick the differentiating characteristics. So many communities have these common strengths. The Golden Corridor, which is basically from Schaumburg to this area for industrial development, schools, parks, library, good convenience shopping, that kind of thing. But what's different in Carpentersville? The first thing is your name. You don't see this everywhere, so that's a good differentiating characteristic. You have a balanced economy. There's manufacturing, housing, retail, and recreation. A lot of communities don't have that. I've mentioned this bridge location. You have a very interesting natural Fox River segment just north of Main Street that a lot of communities have done a lot of development. You have a natural segment. The 30-minute drive time has incredible recreational and natural area amenities. Just wanted to show you this quickly. These little asterisks all represent a forest preserve or a park within this 30-minute drive time. Very few communities have this kind of a wealth of natural resources. And you have a distinctive topography. We learned this from our interviews. They can't put Raceway Park anywhere else. It's your topography that allows it to happen. You have population diversity, something increasingly important in today's world. You have value-priced homes that bring entry-level and age and place opportunities, which are the two largest growing demographics. You have the investment by auto engineering. We've talked a little about the bicycle parks. This diverse entrepreneurial business mix. You have a high school with incubator and trades programs, which are increasingly recognized as important today. And you have paved space suitable for temporary retail and festivals near the Fox River. Okay, so what are the detrimental local market characteristics that are challenging the process right now. First, you have size contrast and a real difference east to west divided by the river. You have some weak Fox River recreational access. There's a lack of signature riverfront gathering or event space. You have a history of political division. You have perceptions of being a blue-collar, low-income community that aren't really accurate from our research. And you have an underappreciated central gathering place. Wonderful Carpentersville Park is a fabulous place. This is just, we're going to look a little bit from the image poll. We just wanted to give you a summary. 730 responses. 599 were from residents, and most of what you're going to see in this presentation came out of that residence sample. 231 comments. People care here. They took the time to type out in answer to this question, lots of comments. And they identified these top 5 Carpentersville resources: the parks, the library, the bicycle routes, youth sports, and schools. Okay, so that's the resources. Remember, we're filling in 3 circles. Second one is the marketplace. We've shown you this. These are the communities within your 30-minute drive time, and that represents your marketplace. Marketplace opportunities. These are the outside characteristics that can improve your positioning. The millennial demographic is turnovers bringing starter housing interest. You have starter houses. You have this new color, smart collar job interest and nearby educational resources. What does that mean? Today, as you talk about education, there's been a lot of criticism of the kid that gets out of school and incurs $100,000 or $200,000 in debt, and then he has a, no offense, political science degree and no job. The smart collar or new collar is the kid that recognizes that Elgin Community College is a great investment. You can come out of there and have a technology degree that puts you without a lot of debt into a position to really get your life started. And so you're very well positioned for that. And I think there's a lot of this new collar and smart collar, both jobs here and also people here. And that's partly because you have this regional institutional support for tech jobs. There's attraction in signature recreational facilities in this area. Yours is Raceway Woods. There's an emphasis on value shopping. What does that mean? You have in your community the places where people spend major money, the Walmarts of the world, the Tractor Supplies, Woodman's. Those boutiques and stuff are nice, but you've really got the emphasis on value, which is part of this marketplace opportunity. There's an opportunity to enhance cultural opportunities along the trail and riverfront and the industrial capacity we've mentioned. And the other thing that's happening in the marketplace is there are emerging temporary and pop-up retail models. Marketplace threats. A declining state and regional population, if you've been reading the news about Illinois. State budget crisis, which we hope will be fixed someday. There's a national immigration decline that could reduce population growth here. It hasn't happened yet, but that's something to be to watch. And there's national economic uncertainty. We wrote this a week ago. I don't know what the stock market did today, but are we due for a correction or a recession? And there's a rapid market changes occurring in retail, office, and industrial products. These are just things to pay attention to. We did review the peer community and communications, and that's available if any of you would like a closer look. But what we did is we looked at what all of your surrounding communities do to market themselves, both what's their image and what's their goals. And so what were the aspirations that we found? First, just to set up what we believe in, economic development embraces the creation of high-quality jobs and the expansion of the local tax base through the growth of companies, population, and organizations that serve markets within and beyond the community. That's one of the aspirations, is economic development. Aspirations from our interview takeaways. Like I said, we talked to 25 stakeholders. The common themes are outside audiences are generally not aware of the village's assets or the complete experience here. There's a reputation based on history rather than current conditions that we want to correct. The east side is really an ideal location for businesses providing services to the Barringtons. The west has great housing value. There's improved access versus the rebuilt tollway. I understand it's known as the Autobahn now. So, but it's a very important aspiration. And auto investment is an incredible asset also, that they've invested so much in your community. One of the questions we asked in the survey was first, what's your existing personality? And then we asked, what should the personality of Carpentersville be to be more appealing to families seeking new homes? So your existing personality, and this kind of goes counter to this negative thing. You're thought of as boring and quiet. So that certainly isn't, it isn't really a problem. People like to be in quiet communities. But the targeted personality from the people who took the survey was they wanted you to be friendly, likable, fun. And what this will drive, and Carl, I don't know if you want to comment for a minute, this will drive how we work on your image, and you'll see in a minute it drives the positioning. This is what your aspiration is. And we asked the same question for businesses. So we have the same existing personality, but for businesses, there was a desire to be friendly, approachable, and confident, and still some fun. So this will all be expressed as we go into the marketing program and the image. So, preliminary brand positioning. A couple of reminders first. This is the one sure good thing. We're going to expand this later. This is a diagram that shows you what we've just talked about on one slide. We need to capture these elements in the marketing position. And then again, we're talking about an experience in Carpentersville. And again, that includes this whole idea that you are part of this nexus of a lot of different subregions and very well positioned. Abundant recreational resources. These are quick reminders. So, what we did is, like you said, we've worked with the staff and a steering committee, and we started with 3 options. We've kind of, the recommendation from the input we've had has been to go with option 1, but there are 2 other options that we're going to integrate, and we're going to talk about that after we kind of go over to option 1. But I wanted to make sure you understood that we're going to look at this 3-dimensional experience for Carpentersville first, but we think you have core or sub-brands that you're going to want to invest in, and that Carpentersville is a smart choice, and it has a personality, and it's the people who own their businesses and operate them here. So let me read this. This is what our work has led us to see as a recommended position. So all of you will understand this. I'm going to read it because it's kind of small. The positioning statement, which is the broad summary of all those dots we talked about, is the Carpentersville experience, defined by a 30-minute drive time, has resources and opportunities that differentiate the village from peer communities. The most significant of these can be said to exist in 3 dimensions: economic, environmental, and social. The economic dimension is characterized by Carpentersville's industrial legacy, balanced business mix, geographic location at the nexus of several high-profile, high-income subregions, its affordable housing, and its access to the markets and resources of a world-class city. The environmental dimension revolves around Carpentersville's location on the Fox River and its abundant natural resources. In addition, the village is surrounded by a dense network of parks and forest preserves that offer a variety of family-friendly activities. The Carpentersville social dimension is important because school, workplaces, and communities increasingly consist of diverse racial and ethnic groups. The learning and understanding that derives from diversity has never been more important in the development of talent that will drive future economic prosperity. Collectively, Carpentersville's 3-dimensional brand experience provides attractive opportunities for a variety of prospective investors, residents, and visitors. So that's the large description of how we're recommending that Carpentersville be positioned. And the brand promise, which is a summary, and first of all, I should mention as we talk about this, the image there is not a recommended image, and none of these words are an advertising campaign yet, but one of the goals is to turn everybody in your community into a brand manager, so they need to learn the brand promise, and when somebody says to you, why do you live in Carpentersville, we hope people will say, Carpentersville's economic, environmental, and social assets provide an attractive three-dimensional community brand experience for prospective investors, residents, and visitors. So that's the summary. And it could be considered an elevator speech, but there will be a creative to this that's quite different. So, just again, to take you back to what we talked about. So, that's the preferred direction. Option 2, and maybe, Carl, do you want to take a minute just to go through this?
Yeah, the second option was instead of featuring Carpentersville as the featured brand right out the bat, the idea was to identify some other parts of the village that are not as well known. And we said, you know, traditionally Carpentersville is set up for an east-west axis, but actually a lot of the economic development potential lies in these 4 major corridors, which include Fox River Valley, Randall Road, Western Avenue, and Kennedy Avenue is, oh, thank you. Okay, thank you. Kennedy Drive, which names that we, by talking to people, say aren't necessarily familiar. Kennedy is known as 25 and Western as 31. So what the task force and staff said, kind of like this idea, this could be incorporated into a future marketing effort rather than be the focus. And then the other idea was the idea of you guys as a smart choice. And again, this was something people still preferred the first option, but the smart choice idea could be incorporated, especially the idea of starting to feature or put a face of Carpentersville out to the outside world, featuring some of these really successful entrepreneurs and other community members here. So, but the preferred direction at this point was the first one. And by the way, these tend to, even after we select something, it tends to continue to wordsmith down to the very end. So we're open for ideas.
Which is why the next slide says discussion. Questions? Comments? Oh, the mic. I'm not as tall as Carl.
Any questions? Board?
I like what I see.
Anybody in the public has any questions for Bridget out there? Do you want to ask a question? Go ahead. No, Bridget, you're awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Maybe before they go,
the
John?
goal here was to just get your direction saying, yeah, keep going. And that's why we did the update with you today. So we're hearing, yeah, keep going.
Yes.
Okay?
Keep going.
Good.
And it's, you know, having gone through this, I'm hearing this over and over again, so it's it gets more exciting as I hear it. But I really think we need to like look at little things too to incorporate this. If we're going to go with that first option, Plan 1, maybe we consider organizing our website around that in those 3 categories, just so we have some consistency across the board. And as we roll this out, I think it would be helpful. But those are things we need to talk about and consider.
Yep. Sounds good. I agree.
Thank
you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
So like Bridget was saying, I mean, we have to, we all have to buy into it. That means everybody out in the crowd here too. Our policemen, our firemen, public works, and our citizens all have to buy into this rebranding and be able to cite, like she said, we'll give out little business cards with that on it. So.
Yeah.
Next, Mr. President, Kevin Gray, Village Engineers, got a couple items, one on Ward, and the other one is going to be H.R. Green and the discussion of the downtown.
Thank you, Bob.
Study. So,
great. Thank you.
Thank you, Manager Rooney. Just a little, Manager Huber, sorry. In January.
What's up? Come on down, Ajay. Ajay, you're next. Let's go.
In January of 2017, the village entered into an agreement with H.R. Green in order to conduct a Phase 1 engineering study for the village's entire Old Town area. The purpose of the study was to provide the village a report detailing recommendations for the preliminary design, construction phasing, and cost estimates associated with the removal and replacement of the village's existing underground utilities, as well as the roadway reconstruction within the area. Tonight we have Ajay Jain from H.R. Green, and he will be presenting the findings and recommendations from that study. He also has some recent news regarding the Carpenter Creek restoration project.
Ajay?
Ajay?
Your time is ticking. Skillman.
Well, thank you, Kevin, and good evening, President Skillman, Board of Trustees. And so I'm here to talk about the Old Town Master Plan, which I will in a few minutes. But before I do that, I wanted to take a few minutes to congratulate the Village Board and the staff for having just received honor from the American Public Works Association, or the APWA, for the Chicago Metro Chapter Project of the Year Award for Carpenter Creek. So I'll just talk a little bit because I understand there are some new trustees and not all of you may be familiar with the project and what was accomplished. So this project started as, again, I have to applaud the Village Board again for having the vision and the leadership to conceptualize this project, understand the issues facing around Carpenter Creek, where many of the creek, or much of the creek, was severely eroded, with many of the structures living very close to the creek and almost at the point of being at risk of failing. So we kind of looked at this project as a stream bank stabilization and a erosion control project, and we worked with the village to receive some federal dollars to the project. So this project was funded through Environmental Protection Agency, which was a 60-40 split. And as we went on, we were able to achieve not only just the bank stabilization, but also water quality goals, which was one of the requirements of the funding being provided by the EPA. So we, on behalf of the village, we submitted the project to American Public Works Association. Upon the completion of it, it first won the local chapter award, which is the Fox Valley. It was nominated, and it also won across the Chicagoland area the Project of the Year award, and it has now been nominated for a national award as well. So I wish you all the best, and hope this gets the national award as well. But one of the important things that you did achieve as a completion of this project, besides taking care of your eroded stream banks and your infrastructure, is that there were over 40 properties that were living along this creek, and they were in the floodplain, paying substantial amount of flood premiums. Typical average of flood premiums for the homes here along this creek can range from $1,000 to $2,000 a year. So after the completion of this project, we also worked with FEMA to get the map revised, and all of those properties are now outside of the floodplain, which means they don't have to pay that flood premium on an annual basis, which not only saves them money, but also makes their property more valuable. So congratulations again. So good job. So we have this display board. Hopefully you can display it in the Village Hall premises. So this is what I'm here, however, to talk a little bit about. So I'll be brief, just to kind of give you a synopsis of what this plan was all about, and give you a high-level overview. But feel free to stop me, ask me any questions that you may have. Again, I've been working with the village staff on this for some time, so I'll kind of go through it. What I'll try to cover today in the agenda is the draft master plan and a phasing plan. Also, I will present some cost for your considerations that we have developed, and then obviously you will have to discuss what the next steps is for the village board. What did our scope included? So we were looking at doing some level of engineering. It hasn't been engineered to go out for construction, but just enough so that we know what the constraints are, what the challenges and opportunities are within the Old Town area. What's the condition assessment of your infrastructure, which includes drainage, which includes sanitary sewer, which includes the water main and the roadways. And then having that comprehensive and holistic understanding of everything to develop a plan that you could implement as you try to budget for those improvements and also prioritize those improvements. So just to kind of get the lay of the land, what you see up on your screen, there is the map of the Old Town area. Back in early 2000, we did complete a portion of this area, which is shown in blue highlight there, which we will call Old Town Phase 1. And that project is generally south of Maple Avenue and west of Carpenter Park. So it was designed, constructed back in the early 2000s. The intent always was to then follow up to do the same thing in the remainder part of the Old Town, which is the Old Town Phase 2, which is again shown in the light brown area on your map. The study area that we'll talk more about today is generally north of Maple Avenue, east of the river, and west of Carpenter Creek, which we just kind of talked about. It also includes portions of the south area, south of the school, as well as there is portion of Elm Avenue, which is west of 31, which was also included as part of the study area. So again, these are the different systems we looked at. So I'll kind of go through each one of them really quickly. So just to understand, as infrastructure age, its condition deteriorate, and because it's your infrastructure, it provides services to your residents, you have to always take assessment of where it is in terms of other priorities in the village, and how soon would they require some attention, whether it includes rehabilitation or replacement of those infrastructure assets. So first of all, just looking at the drainage conditions, the drainage conditions in the Old Town area is generally poor because, like many of your newer subdivisions will have curb and gutter and storm sewers, so there is a drainage system that collects rainwater and conveys it further downstream. Old Town area just doesn't have that. It's, mostly a rural section with some low spots. There is a lot of water draining through those roadways, and in some cases it just ends up in the low areas and has nowhere to go. So that's one of the challenges. So what you can see there is the general drainage pattern. So let me make sure I click the right button here. So Washington Avenue is this is Maple Avenue. So Washington Avenue is the divide for the north part of Old Town, where everything west of Washington drains to the river, but everything to the east of Washington generally drains overland and drains into Carpenter Creek. This is the park, and then the area south has some curb and gutter and storm sewer system. So this is more functional system here, but it also drains to the river here. This is the area that I was saying is kind of more poor or has less than adequate drainage system. As far as the sanitary sewer system is concerned, most of your sanitary sewer services or sanitary sewer mains in this area are 8 inches, approximately 18,000 feet. And one of the things I should have mentioned, so the project area basically comprises over 6 miles of roadways that were included in the study. So about 18,000 feet of sewer, and they were generally all installed in the 1920s. So it's about 90 to 100 years old. The good thing is that the village has a very strong sewer televising program. So as we went into the study, we were able to work with the staff to review those tapes, review the condition of those sewer systems, also take into account the sewers that have been recently lined, which is shown on your map. And then based off of that, we were able to conclude that much of the system can be rehabilitated in place without having to excavate it. Because as we did in Old Town Phase 1, some of those sewers had to be actually excavated and replaced because of its condition, which we didn't find in the Old Town Phase 2 area as much. There are some areas that are shown in the red circles or dots. Those were the ones that our conclusion on those were that they were in poor enough condition that they would require excavation and replacement. So rehabilitating sewers in place can save you a lot of money because the soils in this area are also generally not conducive to large excavation, as we recognized when we did the Old Town Phase 1. They're generally all sand and gravel, which is good for infiltration, but they're also difficult for construction as they have a potential to cave in. So the contractor has to build in a lot of safety measures to not have those trenches fail. So that was a general overview of the sewer system. So very good news on the condition. there, but again, it's 90 to 100 years old. On the water main system is also about 100 years old, and generally comprises of 4 to 6 inch mains. So those generally can lead to, water pressure issues. We never heard too much about any pressure issues. Maybe Kevin can speak to that. But again, much of the system has done well. And in fact, you have had more breaks on the newer system than in the older system. But the fact of the matter is that, given the age of the system, you should start thinking about, what the next steps for the village is as you kind of tackle the old town infrastructure. We also had really good data from the village as to where the breaks have happened. So village staff, keeps track of those records as they do attend to those on an annual basis. And that's about, close to 5 miles of water main that you have in this project area. And we also looked at the roadway conditions, so we did a lot of soil borings. So it's a really good way to understand what the condition of the pavement is, and also what the condition of the subbase under the pavement is. So the village has been very proactive in going into Old Town area and doing resurfacing. So cosmetically, they look decent when you look at the surface. So the surface looks in good condition, but that is not telling the entire picture because the subbase underneath is failing or in poor condition. So, you can continue to band-aid that, but at some point, because of the age of the roadways, you have to start thinking about reconstruction, and which is the time when you would also attend to your water main, the sewers, and also putting in a newer storm sewer system. We also looked at the environmental conditions of this project area, because sometimes if you have contaminated soils as you go into reconstruction, and if you have to dispose those soils in a different way than just typical construction demolition debris, those can increase your construction costs quite substantially. So we wanted to make sure that we're taking a holistic look at this and trying to avoid as many surprises as we can as you go about thinking about this project. So I'll just kind of briefly now go over the proposed plan, having looked at all the existing conditions. So I just kind of looked at all the data that we talked about. So we'll talk about that one by one. So as I told you, that your north of Maple, is the area which has mostly non-existent drainage system. So much of the newer system is being proposed up north of Maple Avenue. That's shown in the red lines there. We have gone to the extent of determining what the pipe sizes for those systems would be in order to adequately convey the water from its origination to its ultimate endpoint, which is the Carpenter Creek. The area to the south generally appears to be in good condition. We didn't see any major flooding issues and so forth. So on the sanitary system, as I said, there are very few areas that we are going to propose to remove and replace the sewers or do some spot rehab. But generally speaking, all of your sewers are good 75 to 80% or more are lineable. So that means we can leave them in place, just use a lining contractor as we go about doing these projects and have them line these sewers. That can give you another 80 to 100-year design life on those pipes. And the water main will pretty much require a major reconstruction, but that is generally less costly than the sewer reconstruction because they are generally 5 to 6 feet in depth. Sometimes sewers can be 10, 12, 15 foot in depth. So the relative depth of excavation for construction of the water mains is going to be shallower than if you would have had to replace the sewers as well. So there are few sections in this old town that we are proposing newer mains just to better loop the system so you can increase your redundancy as well as it is desired in a water main system to have as many loops as possible. For the roadway system, we are going to convert the rural section to a more typical urban section, meeting the village standards. So we have worked with the staff to kind of develop this. So going from an existing 24-inch rural section with no curb and gutter, the new pavement is going to be generally about 30 foot in width with two 12-foot lanes and a 6-foot parking lane. So as you will see in the next slide, there is, people who park along these streets anyway, so we wanted to kind of designate that area for them as we do the new pavement section. There will be sidewalks and also a complete replacement of the driveway aprons, as well as putting in parkway trees. And we have kind of developed some scope for the lighting, but we are not doing a major rehaul on the lighting system. It's just going to be filling in the gaps with the lighting system. So you can't see the underground, but this is just an example. We did numerous renderings of the different streets within the project area to look at the before and after picture. So this is just taking a snapshot of the picture of your existing street and just, artistically kind of giving you the vision of what the after completion of the project would look like. So you can see up on the top is the UPS truck, and then underneath we just kind of provide that. We also show some new parkway trees, and again, this is another rendering of the same thing, but again, just kind of gives you a vision of what the new streets would look like. Obviously, the major cost of this is what's happening underneath with the replacement of the water and rehabilitation of the sewer system and construction of the new drainage system. So now, one of the things we did at the completion of putting all this together is how to phase it. So this is not a set in stone. It's supposed to be fluid. It's supposed to be flexible as you kind of think through this. But we have kind of put some thought into what we think needs to be a phasing plan. And mostly it was dependent on the fact that when you are putting in a new storm sewer system, you want to make sure that you work downstream and work your way upstream. Can that change, and could there be some flexibility with it? Yes, absolutely. But those are the discussions we will have, or the staff will have with the village board as you move forward. So that brings me to just my light slide as to how much it is going to cost. So what we did was we took the cost of the different components of it, because your roadway is the roadway cost, but then you also have the water and sewer fund. And so we kind of broke down what the water main improvements and the sanitary improvements would be, and we came up with a total construction cost. This is as if you were to construct everything in $2018. Depending on the phasing plan you choose and however many years of implementation you want to budget this over, those costs are going to be adjusted for inflation. Just to kind of give you a complete picture, in addition to the construction costs, we also looked at the design and construction administration just as a percentage. Sometimes they can be more, sometimes they can be less, but generally we kind of wanted to use a consistent percentage to come up with a dollar amount. So you're looking in today's dollar to construct about 6 miles of your infrastructure, which it will include, storm sewer, sanitary sewer, water main, and roadways, at $30 million. Not cheap, but you have to start thinking about that now, because as we looked at the condition, over 100 years old, it will need some attention sooner or later. So with that, I think it was a very quick overview. Obviously, we have a lot of details on this that we have worked with the village staff on. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. Kevin, you have anything to add?
Anyone have $30 million laying around?
Really? A lot of work.
So are these phases broken out into what you would expect might be annual projects, or because you were anticipating some of these were combined into?
You can. Actually, we did have that discussion with the staff. So they were broken out as if they can be an individual project, or you can combine it with other phases. But we looked at a logical termini too. Where can you possibly do a project without creating inconvenience to the next neighborhood or the next project? So you don't want to kind of jump from area to area, having completed a construction in one area and then move to the next one, having to come back to the old one. So we kind of had that thought process going in. But these are, again, concept in nature. With our thought process, our judgment into how we have done this in other communities. But obviously, as we work with you guys, then we can kind of revise it.
Thank you, Ajay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll be seeing
Thank
you
you.
soon. Talk to you soon.
I'm sure President Skillman will be looking for a volume discount.
Next.
Next, Mr. Patrick Burke is going to provide us an update on economic development activities that you've been doing in the village, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'll give you a brief update on all the economic activity that's been going on the first 3 months. And I'll start with some of the ongoing projects. Staff for the last couple of months has been working with a sports bar who's interested in redeveloping the former Famous Dave's on Route 31. We've been providing input on that. The issue is the negotiation of the lease. It's been an ongoing issue for them. But the owner just called me today, and they have signed the lease for Famous Dave's to redevelop that.
Awesome. About time.
And so staff, we're actually going to be meeting with them tomorrow, and it's Spotted Fox Ale House. They're in St. Charles, and they're looking for a second location. He wants to open by this fall in time for the Cubs' annual playoff run. So we're going to try to make that work. Another project is the former bank building at Randall and Miller. The current owners there, they're going to demolish the bank building, and they're looking to put in a convenience store and another small commercial building. And so staff has met with them a couple of times already to give them some feedback on that project, and that one's moving
A
forward.
convenience store with Woodman's right there? What are they thinking that they're going to sell there that isn't sold at Woodman's?
Well, and I mean, there's going to be a gas station
Oh,
too, but
gotcha.
they are
Okay, gas station.
They're well aware of Woodman's.
I don't know if you could find gas any cheaper.
As long as you're willing to wait.
Yeah.
Though, you know what, I'll give more alternatives, but I'm a little concerned. I was speaking with Ajay about that project, and I don't want to talk too much out of turn, but you know, we do have that project that we requested them to do regarding that intersection of Randall and Miller, so factor that into the discussion. It'll add more traffic there.
Yeah, we're in the process of evaluating the traffic study, and Kevin Gray's working on that. But yeah, we did receive comments. We did provide comments to the developer of that property too on that, and he's provided, he's taking a look at that. So
Good, I like it. At least it'll generate more tax dollars, so that's good.
Huntley Square, we've met with 8 development groups who are interested in redeveloping the corner. It usually comes down to either redeveloping the buildings or demolishing it and building, but keeping the underground parking. And what it really has been coming down to, though, the common theme is they're all looking at market rate residential on the upper floors in some sort of mixed-use project. I've been talking with the owners on it and with 2 of the developers. The good news is the spread between the asking price and the offer price, it's narrowing, but there's still a gap there. But both sides seem to be trying to make something happen there.
Is there still an issue with the lot to the
Rouse owns the lot to the west, and they've been very consistent that they are not selling it. It would be great if they would, if we could incorporate this into a larger project, but they just do not want to do that.
That's too bad.
And even with the former Famous Dave's, we've had plenty of developers who came forward. They wanted to buy it. The developers did, and Rouse would not sell. And so this was really, for me anyway, the first time anyone came forward who wanted to lease and redevelop the building. But that could have been, like the folks who did the building next door where the American Mattress is, they would have been happy to continue on, but they wanted to own it. Also, a banquet facility. We've been meeting with someone who's interested in putting a banquet facility in the Milk Specialties building on Washington. We're working with them on an incentives package, but that's moving forward as well. And then we've also had a developer who's looking for sites on Route 25. He wants to be as close to the Walmart Supercenter as possible. He wants to build a laundromat, and so we identified 2 sites that might work, and he's negotiating with the landowner on one of the sites south of the McDonald's. And then the Auto Tech Center at Carpenter and Cleveland, that's moving forward, and we've been working with Otto on that to keep that moving forward. But that would be the largest industrial project that we've seen. That'd be plus there's an apprenticeship program in there. It's a really exciting project going forward there. And then also for new businesses, we've been really active this year. We've had 12 new businesses open in the first 3 months. In 2016, we had 27 for the entire year. Last year we had 32. So, I mean, if this pace continues, I mean, that would be 48 new businesses this year. I did get a report from Retail Strategies, what they've been doing for the first quarter. They did contact a national discount a dollar store. They talked to the retail manager there, and they said they would consider a Carpentersville location, and they requested information on potential sites. So Retail Strategies has sent them sites for it'd be similar to like a Dollar Tree type thing. They also contacted a fast casual sandwich shop. They talked to the real estate manager, and he said they would also consider Carpentersville for a location, but right now they don't have a franchisee who is looking for something in this area, but they'll keep in touch with them in case that does change. They've also talked to a national gym, and I asked, it's not Export Fitness, it's another national gym, and the real estate manager said that they're actually working with a franchisee who's looking at a location south of the mall. They want to be on the south side of the mall, but if that should change, they'll keep in contact with them as well to see if if that falls through. That we certainly have 1 or 2 locations that could work. And then also they contacted a furniture store. And they're also interested in it, and they sent them the Dominic's location for that one. And remember, the contract ended January 17th, and it was renewed March 20th. So there's only about 5 or 6 leads that they've been working, but they're gearing up for the big trade show in Las Vegas. So it's good that if we were going to go with them to get that started, and because they're already starting to make appointments for the Las Vegas show. And were there any questions?
When's the Las Vegas show?
It's like May 20th. So like the 3rd of.
So, thank you. Thank you, but I just wanted everyone to understand that. Thank you. That's all good news, man. By the way.
Thank you, Patrick.
That we wanted Mr. Burke to actually come up here and talk about community development. I mean, we see the reports, but it's high on our priority list, right? I mean, we're all
absolutely.
We all want to hear it. We see the police and fire reports. We love them, of course, but and Bob too. Sorry, Bob, but. Obviously, our priority right now is community development, working with our businesses and keep filling spots, but okay. What do we have next?
One more, I'd like to recognize Chief Kilborn, who's got an announcement. I don't want to steal his thunder. Chief Kilborn.
Just real quick, those of you might notice, Manny Figueroa is sitting in the back seat here. Manny finished his career with the Carpentersville Police Department today, 20 years, and he retired today. And he's sitting in the back row and watching the village board. Thank you very much, Manny.
Thank you, Manny, for your service. We worked 20 years together, so many nights out there in the streets of Carpentersville. So we had a lot of fun together, though, too. So Manny was instrumental in working with our Hispanic community, Latino community early on. So very proud of him for helping out with that and all the other projects you were involved with. So,
Congratulations.
thank you.
Congratulations.
Okay.
20 years.
We have no old business tonight.
None.
We have new business, a resolution adopting a memorandum of understanding for the officer involved shooting task force.
I'll motion. I'll second.
We have a motion by Trustee Rayberg, second by Trustee Humfer. We have a discussion if you need it. Chief Kilborn can give you a quick briefing on that if you need it. Sure.
Read it.
We're all good?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
Yeah.
Roll call, please.
I contacted Chief called me back. I contacted Manager Huber. Good luck at the staff meeting next week. But we did talk a little bit about the cost. Would there be any cost? And I think the attorney brought that to our attention, that there was no cost identified in it. And it truly is a sharing of resources in the county. So, there is an opportunity, should unfortunately something like that happen in our town, that we have our insurance policy which provides coverage to our officers that possibly could be leveraged for any cost that could come from this. But the point that the chief made was, and you can further on that if you'd like, but that if something like that would happen, it's really all of our communities in Kane County getting together and providing this service that's now a statute in Illinois. And while the statute is commendable and I'm sure has a good reason to be put in place, it does create a potential cost on a community. And I think we need to monitor that. It's one of these unfunded mandates that comes from Springfield. And they like to do this a lot, so get used to it for the new people on the board. This happens a lot from Springfield. It's like, you guys do this, but we're not going to give you any funding for it. So I just was concerned seeing how some of these cases have blown up in the news. How many people are going to be coming in to do analysis, to do a review, to sign off that what was done was correct and appropriate by the officer. I was concerned that could really blow up as far as a big cost to the village. And it sounds like we have that ironed out, and they'll handle it and bear the cost individually by town.
Go ahead, comment, please.
Yeah, we've worked with these type of task forces before. When you need someone to come in to assist you, and in this case, they'd be doing it completely. Other agencies come in and their officers come in and do the work. We're expected to do the same to them when they need our help, and that's how it goes back and forth. This is established by a state law, and in the past, the Illinois State Police would be the people we'd knock on the door and say, hey, can you guys come in and help us? But on the other end of that, their budget is also shrinking, and we've kind of been notified that if we knock on their door, they might not necessarily answer to do these investigations anymore. The most recent one we had was the shooting at McDonald's about 5 years ago, where the state did come in and assist us with that investigation.
And to your point, that's the key, is that, the state police no longer doing the investigations. They're passing that cost then down to the local municipality. So, but we can get out of it any time, and there is no direct cost, only if our officers participate. Yes.
Which we have an officer that participates on a lot of these investigations because she's that good. Yeah.
Thank you,
Okay,
Mike.
thank you, Chief. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Trustee O'Sullivan,
Yes.
Trustee Rayberg,
Yes.
Trustee Vela,
Yes.
Trustee Frost,
Yes.
Trustee Humfer,
Yes.
and Trustee Lawrence.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Item B, we'll have a discussion.
Well, we need a resolution.
Resolution, I'm sorry.
A motion.
Motion with
I'll
Trustee-
second the motion.
Trustee Rayberg, Trustee Humfer, and we'll have a discussion from Patrick, please.
I recuse myself.
District 300 is undertaking several large capital projects this year, and one of them is the demolition of the old Tom Thumb building at 116 Carpenter Boulevard. It is in the Old Town TIF district, and demolition is a TIF eligible expense. District 300 submitted a TIF application, and the Business Development Commission reviewed that application at its March 13 meeting. And it did recommend that the village reimburse District 300 50% of the demolition cost, but not to exceed $95,000. Staff concurs with that recommendation. And Dan Opels, the Director of Facilities for District 300, is with us this evening in case there are any questions. And if you could just
Yeah,
also make a...
please. Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hello.
Hello. As Patrick said, we're looking for some help in the TIF district, in the Old Town area, for the old Tom Thumb building. For those not familiar with it, it is a fiberglass white structure directly next to the Parkview School. We are invested very heavily this summer in beautification and renovations to the Carpentersville schools, including Dundee Crown, Carpentersville Middle School, complete renovation of Meadowdale Elementary. So we're extended really far. Part of the beautification plan of the village, and also for our schools, we need to remove the building. So we're asking for a little help in that area. We have contracted LAMP to oversee the demolition, and TEM Environmental to mitigate and remove any environmental issues we may have with that building. The reports that we have from 2014 indicate very little environmental impact. However, we'll follow all village ordinances with having a water truck on site and spraying. Should go pretty quick. We look to recycle everything from the site that we can, including the concrete slab that it sits on, and then plant back with Kentucky bluegrass on top of new pulverized topsoil.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions? What was the time frame? I'm sorry.
It is actually out to bid now.
Okay.
And we will receive everything back by the end of April. So certainly work with Patrick to provide that information back to everybody
During
here.
the school year, you think, for the kids?
Well, we're going to do it this summer.
The summer, okay.
Yep.
I'm not good with the price tag, though, because I am aware of something that was demolished for less that cost, so I'm having a hard time with $95,000. That
So
to
I
me-
believe that what
Since the next
Mr. Burke had said was 50% up to
Right.
$95,000.
Right, but I'm still having a hard time with that final price of $95,000. I would do 50% up to $50,000, because I believe the whole project would cost $50,000. But I'm having a hard time with the 95.
So it should come in, hopefully come in lower, I mean.
So one of the issues, I mean, we will have the bids back. We have to follow bidding processes for public projects as dictated by the state and school code. The one thing that we do believe will keep the price down is we do have a lot of contractors in the district this year that are already performing work, and those bids have been awarded. So we're hoping to get somebody that's already in the district that can perform the work under a general trades contract, that can meet all the requirements that we'll put together in the bid specifications. Will sharpen their pencil and move forward with it. The building is rather large. The abatement of it and the different things that we need to follow, such as having a water truck on site. Those things all add up. I'm not sure exactly what the price may be. However, the initial thoughts from LAMP were demolition of a similar sized building were $190,000 in the neighboring community.
LAMP's a GC?
Correct.
And TEM is one of their subs?
TEM is our district environmental consultant.
Okay.
And they will oversee the abatement and all state regulations and air testing and everything like that, as well as notices to the surrounding community members as the state law dictates.
That's out to bid now.
It is. We expect it back in 2 weeks.
All right, thank you. Could I ask a question, President Skillman?
Yes. Are there anticipated to be hazardous substances?
Right
as part
now,
of the
we're
demolition?
aware that the only hazardous substances within the building are in some of the window caulking, and then there's a very small amount of asbestos mastic holding down a very small section of tile within the building. Friday, we will be on site with TEM Environmental doing some destructive analysis and looking in plumbing chases and things like that, just to verify that we don't have any asbestos wrap piping or anything. But for what we know right now, it's very minimal.
Is there any risk that if we approve this tonight for $95,000 for 50%, up to $95,000 for 50%, that will affect the bid prices coming in, because then the folks bidding will know what the ceiling is on this?
To my knowledge, not. I mean, it's already out, and it's done to spec. Our evaluation of the bids will be certainly true and just. I mean, if we feel there's somebody trying to get over on us, we will scrap the project and move forward in a different direction. However, the only people that will know about it are truly people that are here in this room right now or people watching at home.
What's the due date for the bids?
I won't give you an exact date. They're due back before the end of April.
Before
the end of this month.
So I guess the question is, would there be any harm to taking it up in the May board meeting after
That's the
bids
follow-up question, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, because I wouldn't approve this right now, based off the price.
Well, I mean, to
Right.
satisfy Trustee Rayberg's and your concerns about whether somebody might, raise their bid in light of
Right.
the approval.
I would wait to approve this at a later date.
I mean,
Is that a
I think
motion?
if I'm not misreading it, the sense is that, yes, if I'm not misspeaking out of turn, yes, we would participate, but we wouldn't want to influence the bid process by approving the amount in advance. Am I misreading that?
That's
No,
correct.
I would agree with that, too.
So the sense is that, yes, we would like to help, but no, we wouldn't want to unduly influence the bid process by raising the credit limit. Does that sound wrong?
No, I
No,
mean,
I
when
think-
you go to buy a car and they start negotiating, the first question they ask you is, what's the most you're willing to pay? And that's because they, and that will influence the number that you get back on that piece of paper.
Certainly understand, and if I may add, anything that goes through the school district, we have to use union contractors. So with that and our pay application process, we are unable to process any sort of payment without certified payroll. So knowing the limitations of labor costs, we will see that come through as fixed. So basically, if your labor cost is somewhat fixed, you're estimated in a number of hours, we have an idea of what that'll be. I can tell you through our bidding process and what we're doing for capital projects, we've had over 15 bidders for our projects. So there is work to go around. We certainly would never accept a bid with only one bidder or anything like that. We're looking to partner with you and do it in a fiduciary manner, as we have to do for a school district, and we'd certainly like to pass along to the village.
All right, thank you.
Is just a point of order, nobody's made a motion at this point, but the board would have, any trustee could make a motion to continue this to date certain if they wanted to. Not suggesting what you want to do here, but if you wanted to say the first meeting in May, you could do that as a motion to continue to the first meeting in May. May 1st, did you say?
Our first meeting?
But just to clarify, if we were to do that, would that harm the timeline of this project?
The bids will be back at the end of April. I don't think the May 1st date would render it
we could still
would put a stop to
Wouldn't
it
get
at
in the
all.
way.
I mean, we're talking, a week later just to award it, and the completion date would be by the end of summer, certainly before the start of school or when teachers and things are moving into their classrooms to not have people walking through or around any of that. So, no, I'm quite confident to say that it wouldn't affect it.
Okay.
So I guess I would make that motion that we defer the decision, the vote to the first meeting in May, with the understanding that we would we'd vote on it then. Yeah, we would support that.
I would second that. I'd second that motion.
Are we okay with the 50% before we vote? Are we
Pardon
okay
me, Paul?
with are we okay with the 50%?
Yes.
Yes.
I think we're okay with
Yeah.
the 50%.
Yes.
Okay, because
That was part of
Trustee
the
Lawrence?
committee too. That was a meeting that I sat in.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
that was the general consensus with the
Well,
committee.
you and I were a little bit lower than everybody else on the committee, so.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, they had the votes.
Yes. I could,
Just in
and I did not have a vote there, so.
Just in deference to the trustees who are concerned that we don't want to unduly influence the bid return and number.
Certainly understand and appreciate that. As the bids come back, I'll certainly share those with Patrick, and as we return on the 1st to talk about it, I will make sure a representative from our general contractor, Lamp, comes and can fully explain everything that went into it, should there be any questions. I anticipate we'll get a good bidding outcome, and everything should be fine, but
I'm not hearing anybody that wouldn't want to split it with you.
gotcha.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming.
We got to vote on the motion?
All right, yes. So we have a motion to continue to the May 1st meeting. So.
And it's been seconded,
Been
President
seconded,
Scoman?
of course. So roll call, please.
Trustee Rayberg,
Yes.
Trustee Frost,
Yes.
Trustee Humfer.
Yes.
Trustee Lawrence.
Yes.
And Trustee O'Sullivan.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. All right, Maria?
I think JP just went to get her.
Okay. All right, so our next item on the agenda is trustee and committee reports. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Lawrence tonight.
Just want to thank Bob Cole and the Public Works Department for taking my vision of the pinwheels for autism awareness and child abuse prevention and making that beautiful display in front of the Village Hall. Much appreciated. It is gorgeous. I couldn't have asked for anything better. So thank you. That's all I have.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you, Trustee Lawrence. Trustee Humfer?
Maria, welcome to the board. I'm looking forward to working with you. If you have any questions or want to just talk, let me know. Be happy to meet with you. But I'm looking forward to you being on the board. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you very much.
BDC, we've had a couple meetings, not as the BDC, but as part of the task force, and they had a rather lengthy meeting, from what I understand, last Thursday. I was out of town, which led to the presentation today and the selection of the first item as the option to move forward with. We'll continue to progress along that lines. I'll keep you aware of where we're at throughout that process. We have 2 more meetings scheduled for April, and I'm bringing this to your attention. I'm not sure if we'll have a BDC meeting at the end of the month, given the amount of hours that the team has spent already on this project. So we'll assess that. I'll have a better idea by the second board meeting. Third, the Carpenter Creek project. I do have to mention this. It's been a long-standing problem in the village. As a matter of fact, 14 years ago when I started on this board, it was one of the first projects or first problems brought to me. Backyards were eroding, flooding throughout the east side, Maple, and that project solved many of those problems, as well as opened up some land at the end of the creek that is potentially retail to be removed from the floodplain. So, and you can't construct a new building on a floodplain. So that was a really important project, and I'm glad we have won the awards, and I hope we do well on the national front as well. So that's good. And the last thing is the baseball field is open over in Carpenter Park finally after, what, a 3-year hiatus. So looking forward to getting over there and seeing it, having worked with the Little League for many years. So very exciting. And that concludes my remarks.
Thank you. Trustee O'Sullivan?
Thank you for 20 years of service protecting the people of Carpentersville. Thank you very much, officer. And welcome, Maria.
Thank you.
Welcome to the board. And that's all I have, John.
Thank you, sir. Trustee Rayberg?
There was no Audit and Finance Commission meeting since the last board meeting. The next one is to be determined. We had one scheduled, but it was over spring break, so we're going to be rescheduling that one here shortly. Welcome, Trustee Vela.
Thank you.
And excited to have you aboard, and that concludes my report.
Thank you. So, Hitesh, we're next week, correct? Audit and Finance? Oh, we haven't decided. I'm sorry. Okay, I thought we'd schedule for next week. I missed that. Trustee Frost, move on. Yes.
I sat in on the Parks Committee meeting and excited about a lot of the events that are coming up. Stay tuned for that. And welcome to Maria. Looking forward to working with you and working with everybody on the board here. It's an exciting time. And congratulations on your retirement. Yep, 20 years is a long time. That's great. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Frost. Maria?
Just want to say thank you. I'm really looking forward to working with all of you. Looking forward to your guidance and all of your support.
Thank you. All right, so just, I just wanted to say one thing. I mean, you know, we talked earlier about a newspaper article and stuff, and just to be on the record, I mean, we've been working, you know, with the community and trying to, we knew we had an appointment a few weeks ago, so we've been working for a few weeks behind the scenes and interviewing different people, and, you know, and then we get a letter from Chicago about something that was posted in the newspaper, which I think one of our residents brought forward tonight. And so there'll be much more to come on that. So, but it's interesting, actually. So it goes way back, though, to the early days, a long time ago, that we don't want to recall, we don't want to bring back. We're moving forward, as all the trustees said, and we don't want to go backwards. So we don't want to talk about that anymore. That's why we're rebranding, and we want everybody in the community to be involved in that, and they will be. Everyone will be involved. So, and our neighbors too, the Dundees, the Algonquin. I mean, we're gonna have a good time doing it. We're gonna have fun. So, like they said in the presentation tonight. So, tomorrow I'll be going to the Elgin Food Pantry, I believe, and presenting the proclamation that Mr. O'Sullivan read for us tonight. So that'll be nice to go out there and see that. I've never been there before, but so I'll be doing that. What else? Anything else? It's good, I guess. Boys and Girls Club, we did that. We did that last meeting, right? We did her last meeting, so we went to that. I have one thing here that we handed out. Special Olympics Bowl-a-thon for Special Olympics is on when?
April 28th.
April 28th. April 28th?
Same day as the pub crawl.
Oh, my gosh.
You guys sure can't pick them.
All right, so we'll put that on the website, Mr. Kevin. Please, thank you. And that's all. Okay, so I'll be looking for a motion to enter closed session for 2C1 and 2C11 tonight.
I'll motion. I'll second.
A motion by Trustee Rayberg, second by Trustee Frost. Roll call, please.
Trustee Frost.
Yes.
Trustee Humfer.
Yes.
Trustee Lawrence.
Yes.
Trustee O'Sullivan.
Yes.
Trustee Rayberg.
Yes.
And Trustee Vela.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. We'll be going into closed session. Thank you.